Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Gallant, and I want to welcome you to another Cape Conversations. Ooh, we got a good one, a town one, with our wonderful and dynamic town clerk, Taylor White. We all love Taylor because he has all the answers to all the questions that have to do with the town. So come along, let's have another Cape Conversations. Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Gallant, and guess who I'm sitting with in this beautiful office, so neat and clean, with all kinds of wonderful memorabilia from his earlier lives. I don't know. Are they from your earlier lives?
Some of it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, I'm with Taylor White, town clerk of Sandwich, Massachusetts. How are you, Taylor?
Good.
What's going on?
Nothing's going on at all
Nothing
this
going.
time of
Let's
year.
see.
Very quiet.
Let's see. It's August, so
Yeah.
it's in the end of summer. We had a
Yeah.
lot of traffic. We discussed that before
It's been a
starting
busy
this.
summer.
Busy summer, busy traffic wise, busy every way. And then let's see. September comes, and what happens in September?
Well, it's funny you should ask. We are in the midst. I feel like this year has been nonstop.
Yeah.
We have gone from the presidential primary in March of this year.
Right.
We had a brief lull. We had the local election. I feel like we had about a month and a half to breathe, and then right at the end of June, early July, we went right back into election mode for the upcoming September 3rd primary.
Right.
So we're guns blazing. We're full steam ahead.
So you have you mailed out for that yet for the primary?
Yes, we
I
actually.
believe I got mine.
You should have. Yes,
Yep, I believe so.
In a kind of a weird turn of events, we were expecting to receive the mail-in ballots that the Secretary of State sends out probably about a week or maybe 4 or 5 weeks ahead of the election. We received them about 2 months ahead of the election.
Oh, wow.
So we were mailing those ballots out for the September 3rd primary second week in July, which kind of caught us by surprise. We weren't expecting to receive them till later, but we were happy we got them in, and we mailed out about 3,500 that we had in the queue ready to go.
Great.
The vote by mail whole process is something obviously we've talked about before, but for those who are not familiar with it, it's a process where the Secretary of State is required to send out these postcards. This year, people received them very early. They received them in January, and that was basically allowing you to sign up for the March presidential primary, the local election, the state primary, and the November. So it was just a lot of different options available.
So those options,
Yeah.
Do you find that it increases voting? I mean, is it a help to getting people to vote?
It hasn't. Now I can't speak for the entire state, but
no, you only have your.
When we look at our when we look at our matrix, the vote by mail really hasn't increased total voter turnout.
Mm-hmm.
It has basically shifted it from a certain percentage of where we are going to get an 80% turnout. Like I'm predicting about an 80 to 84% turnout for the presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
We're still going to get that same number, but we're going to have a percentage of it vote by mail, another percentage of it early in-person early voting, and then the other percentage will be obviously election day. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of just staggered it differently.
Sure.
But I haven't seen an overall increase in voter turnout as far as predictability is concerned since 2020. But it does give people more options, and I think that's what it's supposed to do.
Well, those people that are maybe living in the woods somewhere and worried about their vote, and if they mail it in, it is very legal and very safe, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different safeguards in place when it comes to the application. So if those who receive the application, they're signing the application, they're checking off what election they want. In the case of a primary, they're identifying which primary ballot they want for the specific elections. Then we're getting that information, and then we're matching that up with what we have in our system, making sure that person is registered to vote.
Right.
We're verifying their address. We're putting them into our modules so we can then turn around and print their ballots, print their envelopes, print their return envelopes. There's a lot that goes into it that people don't realize.
That makes it safe.
I mean, a lot of times I've been very critical of the system sometimes here in Massachusetts, but for everything that Massachusetts isn't election-wise, it's got a very safe election system in the sense that there are checks and balances, there are audits that take place. One of the things that people, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on that.
No, I understand, but I think it's important people understand it is safe.
It is safe. And if people say, well, the machines and all this stuff, I like to tell them Massachusetts has been doing this for almost 8 years now. They do a random audit during biennial elections. So every November, so every 2 years, when the ballots are counted and everything's done, they literally have a giant, it's like a bingo ball, and they put, I think there's something in the ballpark of, I forget the exact number, don't quote me, it's like 2,000 or 3,000 individual precincts across the entire state. Sandwich has 6. They literally go through and they pick, I think it's 6% of the precincts.
Really?
And then they're randomly audited, and that means that the precinct. So if we were chosen, we would say like precinct 2. We would have to hand recount precinct 2 to make sure that those ballots that were cast and counted electronically are then looked at again and counted by hand. So it's a good practice. Right. And in all the years they've been doing it, we've never had a situation where those ballots come back reporting differently than what was reported on election day. Right. But it's a good way to randomly audit, and it is random. It happens all across the state. Some clerks joke around because, like Mike Palmer over in Falmouth, he got 2 precincts one year, and he said, "Oh, just what are the odds of that?" He had to recount.
Hi, lucky.
Yeah, but there is an audit system to making sure that the ballots that are counted are done correctly. So there is a system in place for that.
Yeah, good.
But the going back to the vote by mail system.
Went off track there.
No, that's all right. So I think it's a good thing to talk about, because it's a conversation I have a lot with people.
Yeah.
So when you send that vote by mail application in, it gets into our system, and depending on what election you chose, that causes us to then generate reports and then mail the ballots, and then when they come back in, we're checking the ballots back in. We're recording them in a couple of different ways, and then we're basically putting them on ice, is what I like to say, until we begin the, as a fancy title for it, it's advanced tabulation and processing is what the legislature has called it now. Basically, that gives us the ability to not have to wait till election day to count all of those vote by mail ballots. We go through a process where we're counting about a week before. Yeah, everything that's already arrived, and it's all publicly available for viewing. We advertise it. That's on our website. And that process is basically the opening of the envelopes and putting the ballots physically through the machines. The totals are not released until election day. But basically, those results are stored on memory cards and over the course of the week and tallied. So it gives us a little bit of a leg up. Some communities choose to count them all on election day, and it's really the purview of the clerk on whether or not they want to do it that way. I choose to do it ahead of time just because election day here tends to be a very busy day. So I get all that vote by mail stuff counted ahead of time. Again, not tally. We're not seeing any election results. We're just literally running them through the machines. 8 o'clock on election night, we press the magic button, and then those machines give us those reports. We marry those reports with what's coming in from election day, and that produces your end result.
I see.
And there's a lot that goes into it. And a little bit later, we're going to show how we're processing those vote by mail ballots and how they go out.
That's wonderful. Well, so you know how Facebook is full of all kinds of strange things.
Of course.
And one of the things was that if you receive a ballot, when you go to your polling place and you receive a ballot and it has a little squiggle on it or a check mark, ask for a clean ballot because they will reject it when it comes to counting the vote. Now, I'm sure it's some guy. I'm going to go again to the guy sitting in the woods who doesn't believe that mail-in is. The guy sitting in the woods probably started this nonsense. But is it true that if there is a mark on your ballot?
Well, a stray mark on a ballot, however it's generated, can if it's in the little bubble, so that you see the candidate.
Okay, but if it's not in the bubble, it's just on the ballot.
So what'll happen, and often voters do that. They'll be having their voter pen in their hand. They'll be and they will make a stray mark on the ballot. And we tell them that if they do that, to come back and spoil their ballot, and it basically just goes into a box and is never counted. They're given a fresh ballot.
I see.
Having a stray mark on a ballot can be problematic in that it can basically cancel out your vote. So, for instance, if you're voting for school committee, vote for one, and you vote for John Smith, but your stray mark also hits, Sally Smith. It's going to that race is not going to count because you're only allowed to vote for one.
I got you.
And the voting machines will actually tell you that when you take your ballot, even if you're not aware of a stray mark, you'll go to put it into the machine and it will say overvoted race.
And it'll spit it out?
Yep, it'll spit the ballot out. It'll back to the voter, and it will tell you on the screen, it will say race overvoted. And at that point, the voter has the option to spoil that ballot and go back and revote.
Get a new one. Okay.
So yeah, stray marks are not. They can be problematic, but it's.
But it gets caught.
We catch it at the polls. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You catch it before the votes are even counted, so they can revote.
They can revote. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think is wonderful is how you've gone electronic the last how many years with people coming in. There's no more searching and flipping pages, and it's
Oh, the poll, yeah, the poll pads. Everyone sees those big neon green boxes. Yeah,
it's wonderful for the poll worker and for the customer coming in, because they are customers in a sense.
Well, that's it is, and we treat it that way. It's a customer interaction. We want to make it as smooth and as problematic and as fast as possible. The old system of having these big books and you're searching through for the name and address and all that is behind us. We've been able to use the poll pads, and it's just simple. You come in, you tell the check-in worker your first name and to verify the address.
Right.
The poll worker will type in the first few letters of the last name and the first letter of the first name, and boom, there you are. Press accept. A receipt prints out that shows you voted. You're handed a ballot, and you go on your way.
Yeah, it's
great. It makes it smooth. Some people are a little apprehensive of that process, and I try to instill this. It is not a tallying device. It's not capturing. It's literally just supplementing the red pencil on the giant pieces of paper with a checkbox. That's all it's doing, and it's just a way that on the back end, when it comes back to us, we used to have to take those 700 pieces of paper and scan. There's a barcode used to be attached to them, and we'd have to scan to update your, like, say you voted, Melinda voted. Now we literally just take that information and upload it into the system. So within 30 seconds, everyone's voter history is updated.
It makes so much sense.
It saves us literally, depending on the election, sometimes days worth of work.
Oh, yeah.
And not to mention the time that it saves the voter at the polls on election day.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. So early voting has it started yet?
Early voting is going to start this Friday. Saturday, the 24th.
The 24th.
Saturday the 24th.
Okay.
It's going to be from 10 to 4. And that's going to be at the Center for Active Living. If people aren't familiar with that building, it's the main entrance. You walk right in. Police
and fire are there. They can find it.
Yeah, right in that center, that complex. Yep. We've been fortunate enough now that we have that building available to us for use. We've been utilizing it a lot for voting. So all the early voting for all elections, sans the local election, which we usually do here because it's much lower turnout.
Yeah.
We do at the Center for Active Living. It's the main door you walk in. There's a little vestibule next to the stairway. You can go in. We'll have check-in people there. We'll have the voting booths, place to drop your ballot. Right. So that will be the 24th. Like I said, 10 to 4.
That's early voting in person.
In-person early voting.
Right, because you've already done the mail-ins.
The mail-ins, yep.
They're coming in.
And it's interesting to note that if you received a mail-in ballot and you have not sent it back yet, it hasn't been recorded, you still have the option to not vote that mail-in ballot. You can either go to in-person early voting or election day voting. We're only counting one.
Right.
But there are many different options available. So some people say they have requested a ballot and they say, I'd rather go to election day or in-person early voting. We said, great, just discard it. Your name's only going to be on the list once, so we're going to check you off once, whatever the method is. So in-person early voting will be, again, this Saturday the 24th. It will run the following week, Monday the 26th until Friday the 30th. It will be 9 to 4 at the Council on Aging / Center for Active
Living.
So we'll do that. And then at that point, Election Day will be the day after Labor Day this year. It's a little bit kind of just comes right up on us.
I know.
It'll be the 3rd of September. And people who want to vote on Election Day just need to be cognizant that they are voting at we've had them for almost 2 years now, but the new voting location. So precincts 1, 2, and 3 vote at Corpus Christi, the parish hall.
Right.
4, 5, and 6 vote again at the Center for Active Living at the Cal. People have any questions as far as what precinct, give us a call. You can go on the Secretary of State's website. If you type in Google's, Mass Secretary of State, there's an option there to tell you where your voting precinct is and which precinct you're in. So we're always available to answer any of those questions and help people get to the polls correctly.
Now, okay, so let's say I just moved to town. I just moved. I moved in, right. So when can I register now? How late can I register to vote?
So for every election now, it used to be a 20-day period. You had to be registered beforehand. It is now 10 days. So for instance, for this next election, the date of registration is the first day of early voting, which is the 24th of August. That's the 10-day block off before the September election. The day, I don't have it in my calendar right now, but I believe it's probably close to the 26th of October is going to be the date for the November election. I believe that's what it is. I'd have to double check that, but we do these things one at a time. But it is with the availability of automatic voter registration through the Registry of Motor Vehicles and then online voter registration. We are at, the last time I checked, I think a 97% rate of those who are eligible, meaning 18 and older, are registered to vote in town.
Wow, that's great.
So we have a very high, it's a very active.
Well, we have an older population too, I think, don't you?
That's a whole different show, but we have.
Well, no, I know, but doesn't it? Don't you think that means that's why we would have so many?
We have, if you look at the stats, we used to have 4,000 kids in the school. Now we have less than 2.
Yeah.
The population from 60 plus has gone up from, I think, in the last 10 or 15 years, from like 18% to like 30-something%. So it's definitely shifted. But yeah, and those folks tend to be a little more active and responsible. But we're getting the young people to vote too.
Well, that's what's important.
At least register. We're getting them registered.
Right.
It gives them the availability, the option. So we're trying to get them involved as early as we can.
Do you find that making it easier to vote? Well, I kind of asked that question before, but again, I go back to, it would seem to me we would all want it to be as easy as possible to vote.
Well, I think
you want to make it fair, and you want to make it legal. But I'm just saying, the more voting, the more opportunities you can give people to vote, the better off it would be.
Well, and
I think
I don't think I don't think there's an argument against. I mean, I wouldn't argue against that.
No.
But right now with the early voting, mail-in voting, I mean, basically people have ballots in their hands almost at least 30 days before the actual election.
So why wouldn't you fill it out and send it in?
Yeah, and there's election day, which is, and then there's the in-person period. So there are so many different options right now.
Yeah,
I'd be hard pressed to come up with anyone to give me a valid excuse as to why they can't
vote. Yeah,
you're really, the state has changed the whole voting system since 2020 to allow for just a massive amount of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So they exist. We try to do the best job we can to let people know about it. Sometimes you can't lead a horse to water or make them drink. What is it? You can lead a horse to water,
but you can't make them drink.
So we do the best we can to advertise that. But, well, there's a lot of people who are in town that are registered, a very high number. So
that's great.
That's the first part.
That's a good thing.
People do need, if you are new to town, you do need to remember that it's 10 days prior to an election to register. You can do it here in the office. You can do it online.
That's great.
Whatever. Just always give us a call if you have any questions.
And then after the election on the day after Labor Day, which is such a bad time period, I think, because everybody's just kind of getting back. I always feel like Labor Day is like, okay, then you have to have a week of figuring out where you are in life for the next 9 months.
It's also the first day of school, I think.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, it is in Massachusetts. Well, here in Sandwich,
it is. So after that, when the primary results are final, then we know who the primary candidates are going to go up into November. We probably expect the another round. People talk about those vote by mail cards. The Secretary of State will send another round of vote by mail cards out, which I have no control over that. I'm sort of just tangentially told when it's going to happen. I would expect that to be probably end of November. I'm sorry, September. End of September.
Not the end of November.
That wouldn't make any sense.
No.
End of September, people can probably get those again from the Secretary. Those who aren't already signed up. If you're already signed up, you're not going to get anything. And around the same time, we'll probably get the ballots in for the November election. So people can probably expect late September, early October to start receiving those ballots for the November 5th general election in the mail. And
that should be a big one, I would think, both in person. I think presidential elections bring more people out in person. That whole thing. So. I'm going to vote. I'm going to walk up and sign whoever you're voting for, but I'm going to go up and sign.
Well, we see it in the numbers. I'm expecting between 80 to 83% turnout.
That's
and right now we're at.
That's great.
Yeah, we're at 17,350-ish number of registered voters. So I'm expecting between 80 and 83% of those people to vote in some capacity, be it early, in person early, or on election day. So the next thing coming up for in person prior to November is going to be that time period, and all these things are going to be posted on our website and advertised in the newspaper. But there's 2 Saturdays available. They're going to be the 19th of October and the 26th of October. Those are the 2 weekend days in which we will have in-person early voting for the November election.
I see.
Leading up to it, and then those weeks. So basically the 21st up until November 1st, that's a 2-week stretch of weekdays, a block of weekdays, we will have in-person early voting at the Center for Active Living.
And again, it's 9 to 4?
Those times, I think the first week is 11 to 3.
Okay.
And then the second week is 8:30 to 4:30.
Right.
So again, plenty of opportunity. I'm expecting somewhere in the ballpark of 1,000 to 1,500 people to take advantage of that.
I've often thought we should have it should be a national holiday when we do presidential elections, so that you don't have to worry. Everybody can be off. You can go vote. You don't have to worry about losing time or, I mean, it would make, hourly workers and,
well, it's funny, no matter
everybody equal kind of to be able
well, you
to
talked
vote.
about the voter turnout, and locally, I have not seen an increase in voter turnout, but I do see that predictability when it comes to overall voter turnout. And I can say, so people are getting there. Yeah. They got there prior to in-person early voting. They got there prior to mail-in voting. Those same percentages are consistent throughout the decades. So it's the conundrum. We'd love 100% voter turnout, but we don't have it. But we have so many options. Right. We're probably going to get, if I'm predicting now, I'm probably going to say we'll probably have a little over 60%. I'm assuming are going to show up on election day, and the other 40% are going to show up either in person early voting or it's going to come through the mail. Voting. Yeah, to get to that 80, 83, 84% total voter turnout. Right. So, well, we're going to be we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of ballots. So we are going to be very busy.
But that's a good thing.
This is our prime time.
Yeah. And it's your big season.
Yeah. Yeah. And then maybe we'll be able to rest for Thanksgiving. We'll see what happens.
Right. No special town meetings.
No. Well, there's rumor of a special town meeting on the 18th of November. So
here we go.
We'll do that. But yeah, I think we've talked about a lot of the options that are available. One of the other things I want to talk about was that sticker contest.
Oh my gosh, I forgot all about it with the kids.
We're trying in an effort to try to get young people now. A lot of these people aren't. They're not eligible to vote yet. We want them to start thinking about it.
Yeah.
So what we've done, and it's available on our website, and on the Facebook page, you can see it. We're having an I voted sticker contest.
Oh,
and
fun.
We're going to be doing it through the schools as well. So hopefully when the kids go back in early September, their teachers will say, hey, there's this contest going on. It's bottom line, we want to make it those little I voted stickers that people get. We want to pass them up. We want them to be big. And we're going to have a contest and have the kids at the Forestdale, Oak Ridge, and high school come up with their designs.
Great.
We're not doing any slogans or campaigns or names or anything like that. We're just doing, just I voted, patriotic design. And we're going to have them printed up and handed out on Election Day on November 5th.
Oh, that's great.
So if anybody out there wants to get their kids or grandkids involved, take a look at the website. It's right up there. And again, hopefully the teachers will be handing that out during the school season. But get as many entries in the contest.
Now, wait a minute. But okay, so I'm a kid and I enter. What do I get besides having my name on the sticker?
The fame and notoriety of having your name printed on the stickers.
Nothing else, not a new backpack or anything?
No, well, maybe this is our first year. Maybe we'll up the ante in the future. But the deadline is, we got to make sure the deadline is October 1st. So they basically have the entire month of September.
Right.
Because we need to get them printed up and ready for distribution. So
do you have to notify the teachers so they know they're aware?
Yeah, we've gone through, we've talked to the superintendent, and we've sent it out to the teachers. So we're hopeful we get a bunch of entries, and it'll be difficult to decide who the winner is, but we want to we'll print the winner's name and their school on the sticker, so everyone they can brag about that to their friends.
Nice. So. That's excellent.
But no, we've got a lot going on, and we always encourage people, if you have questions, 508-888-0340. 508-888-0340.
Right.
Call us. We want to resolve any issues you have relative to where you vote, your voter registration, any questions you have regarding mail-in voting, in-person early voting. Just call or shoot us an email.
Sure.
It's the sooner you can let us know, the sooner we can give you the details and rectify anything that might be issues.
So you have voting, and then nothing else goes on during this time period. You just shut everything else down, or are you still doing marriage licenses?
Well, yeah, the other day-to-day operations, all the vital records and
all
keeping
that
up,
stuff.
all those other types of things are still going on in the background.
Right.
But this becomes our focal point.
Sure.
And then, like I said, hopefully after what presumably could be a special town meeting on the 18th of November, we'll just enjoy Thanksgiving and the holidays, and then we'll ramp right back up for the spring election next year.
Excellent. Well, that sounds great. So you're going to show us in a minute here, you're going to show us what goes on to getting those mail-in ballots out.
Yeah, we're going to give people just a little sneak peek
Excellent.
as far as how we get those addresses and those labels on it and what they receive in the mail.
That sounds great. Well, listen, thank you so much for talking with me today. As always, you're charming and debonair and the town clerk. What more can we ask for?
Thanks, Melinda.
Good to see you, Taylor.
So when folks here in Sandwich request a vote by mail ballot, you're going to send that card in, and that begins a process on our end where we then take that information and we're putting it into our systems. It's a lot of data entry, but at that point, what ends up happening is your information is put into the system and your envelopes are prepared. The one envelope you'll see when you receive your ballot is going to be your outer envelope, and that is going to have your our return address printed on it and your name and address, mailing address printed on the outer envelope. Inside that, you will receive a mailing envelope to send it back to us, as well as your ballot and instructions on how to vote. The other piece of information you will find in your ballot packet is it's called a ballot envelope. This is what you seal your ballot up in after you're done voting it, and then put it into the mailing envelope and send back to us. The town of Sandwich, we've gone through great strides to make it as easy as possible. So what you will find on your ballot envelope is a barcode, which again internally we use to make sure your ballot is received. Your name and your address will also be printed on the ballot. You're only required to sign it when you return. So you vote your ballot, you sign it, and you put it back in the mailing envelope. Those can be returned several ways. The mailing envelope is postage paid by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so you don't need any postage to return it to us. Or you can drop it off over the counter in our office, or you can put it in one of the several drop boxes that surround the building. So I will show you a little bit on what actually the machine does. This is called a Quadient printer. The town of Sandwich invested in this printer to not only save time and money when it comes to the distribution of these ballots and getting them out as fast as possible, but it also it saves us a lot of money of having people use stickers. For a little bit of history on the mail-in voting, it used to be that those envelopes that I showed you were actually physically had to affix mailing labels, barcodes, all those types of things onto these things, and that took massive amounts, sometimes over a week to do this. Now we can get about 3,500 ballots out in about a day or two. So every day during election season, we're inputting all those requests for ballots, and then we're running them through this machine. And simply put, we are just making sure that the addresses are affixed. And here we go. I'm going to show you guys right now. There's our test printer. And that's it. Today we only actually had 27 requests for the ballots to come through. So this is what they look like in the end. Again, our return address, the voter's address. The next step is we print what's called the ballot envelope I showed you earlier, and I can show you that right now. All right, the second and almost the final component to the vote by mail ballots you'll receive in the mail is this is called your early ballot envelope. It's going to have your pre-printed name and address on here. It's also going to have a barcode, again, which helps us process your ballot when it's returned. In the case of a primary, it will have the party ballot voted on here, and it will also have your precinct, and that's all for us to keep track in-house. So what we're doing is simply printing these out, and these will be married, as I say, with the ballot packets that we've printed previously. And you can imagine the time that it took to affix stickers to each one of these for previous elections. But now we have 25 or 26 of them here in about 3 or 4 seconds. So at that point, we'll marry these up with the envelope. We will seal them. We will put postage on them and get them out in the mail right away.
Wow, Taylor White, that's a lot of information. And we've got all kinds of elections coming up. Oh my goodness. And we're going to have mail-in ballots and voting in person ballots. And we're even going to be able to vote for our presidential election November 5th. So exciting. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me today. And oh my gosh, this is me.